Alright, what's up guys? This is NinjaDeathStrike bringing you another Pokemon TCGO battle. It's the weekend, so I got a bunch of uploads done. I'm just hammering out these voice narrations so I can upload them for you throughout the week. This will probably be my Friday upload, I think. I know what order I want to go in. So anyhow, this is a new deck that I just built as a lot of my decks tend to be. It is a rogue deck. This one, however, is actually intended to be competitively viable. So you see there, I've got some Yanmegas, and I've got some Scythers, and I've got a Terrakion. So this is Yanmega, Scizor Prime, and Terrakion. I built this deck actually just like a couple hours ago. This is one of the very first matches that I took with it, and I'll explain my thought process a little bit probably as we go through it, but the general idea is that there are two big decks right now, obviously, Zekrom Eels and CMT, Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus, so I wanted to just build a metagame counter deck, and I mentioned a while back that I really wanted to try out Scizor Prime for a while, just because DCE is so big right now. I thought it could be really problematic for a lot of the big decks. So I started basing this deck around Scizor and his ability Red Armor, which, for those of you who don't know what it does, anytime your opponent has a special energy attached to the Pokemon, that Pokemon can't do any damage to Scizor. So the idea is he gives Mewtwo a hard time because he either forces him to retreat and discard the DCE, or just completely blocks him. Same goes for Tornadus, so he's a really good tech for CMT. The biggest problem is he takes Steel Energy, and he's not that good against the other big deck, Zekrom Eels. So I wanted to find an attacker that paired well with him, and that would also give me an advantage in the... not an advantage, but an edge. Not an edge, that's the same as an advantage. A fighting chance, there we go, in the Zekrom Eels matchup. And so what I decided was obviously Terrakion. Terrakion just wrecks shop, but I didn't want a whole lot because starting with Terrakion is not good ever. He's just a huge catcher target every time he's on the field, and I didn't want that to happen. So I put two Terrakion. I still needed a third attacker since I didn't want to play a 4-4 Scizor line. You really only need two, because the idea is the matchups it's going to win for you. You're going to win with just one. You shouldn't need more than that. Two is plenty, just so that one doesn't end up prized. And I still had a good bit of room, so I figured I'd go with Yanmega, because Yanmega is actually decent again. I mean, nowhere nearly as dominant as he was, but you can see right there, that's why I included him. He gives me a nice advantage in the early game against Eels. Every time I'm able to kill a Dynamo, I prevent an electric from hitting the field. That slows down my opponent's setup and gives me early prizes to help me stay competitive. Because Mewtwo, I can't one-shot it. Luckily, Terrakion and Yanmega have decent matchups with him on their own, and then obviously if they've got DCE, Scizor just destroys him. So the idea here is use Terrakion to help support Scizor in the Eel matchup, and use Scizor to beat CMT. So my opponent is using a variation of Zekrom Eels. He went for the dual ball engine instead of collectors, which I don't like in that deck. I like it in CMT since everything's basic, but I definitely prefer to have collectors so that you can bench multiple Eels. With the Eel deck, you see the one time he was only able to put one down, and then I was just able to snipe it with a linear attack, preventing him from getting it up. So I also run a ton of cards to help even my hand sizes here. I've got Ends, I've got Judges, and I've got Copycats. A lot of each of them to really help Yanmega stay in the game, basically. So here I'm running pretty good right now. That is about to end, though. I get the other fighting energy off of that N, so that's going to let me charge up Terrakion manually. I'm just going to kill this Zekrom. You know, I could have sniped the Tyrogue on the bench with the, because we both were at 5 cards there, but I figured just killing that thing. There aren't any eels on the field, so assuming I can, still match his hand sizes, I'm going to be able to just snipe off a lot of the Dynamos as they come in, and if I can keep him from ever getting those things up, the deck's just going to fall apart around them. His only option is going to be a Mewtwo with DCE, and then Scizor is going to take care of that. So I'm in really good shape right here, actually. He gets one Dynamo down, gets a heads on that dual ball. I think he goes for a Mewtwo here. Instead of the other Dynamo, which it works. He's got that DCE in his hand, so he's going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to Terrakion. He's at 100 right now, and I think he's got a Juniper in his hand as well, maybe. So he plays his hand down to 1. That means it's going to be really hard for me to match it. I don't have any way to do that this turn, but that's not too bad. This Terrakion is charged up, so I'm okay to attack with him for one more turn. I can just go ahead and Land Crush, hit Mewtwo for 90, and put him in a range where something else will be able to kill him later, hopefully. I also don't have any energy, so that's not great either. I'd like to attach to something here. Missing an energy drop in this metagame is absolutely devastating. So I'm thinking about what I want to do here. There's really no option but to just stay in and attack with Terrakion. I can't attack with anyone else. So hit Mewtwo for 90, and now I'm going to be knocked out the next turn. And I would really like to get a Scizor going, because he put a DCE on that Mewtwo. I also, though, want to take out the Dynamo on the bench. So I'm going to go into my Yanmega here. Wow, I haven't said the thing's name for so long. I almost forgot what it was. And I want to be able to match hand sizes here, because I am not worried about that Mewtwo at all. I want to kill the Dynamo before it becomes an electric, because that's the whole point of this deck, really, is to shut off their stuff early and keep them from setting up. So I'm trying to think about exactly how I want to match hand sizes here. I really wanted to be able to get Scizor Prime in play this turn and match hand sizes, but unfortunately that's not quite going to be an option. I can Junk Arm for the Pecom there. That's going to put me at 4. And then go ahead and play the Pecom to get my Scizor, but I can't evolve it this turn, which is a little bit worrying. If he happens to have an N, he can make me shuffle my hand and I might not draw it back. Since I do only run a 2-2 line in this deck, they're not that common. That's why I have so many Pecoms. I want to make sure I can get them when I need them. But for now, I'm at 3, so I'm just going to linear attack on his Dynamo. I almost picked Sonic Boom there. That would have been a terrible mistake. I'm glad that I didn't. Just go for the linear attack, and I actually retreat this Yanmega back and bring out my fresh one just to make it that much harder for him to take a prize next turn. And there we go. Pick off the Dynamo. So I've killed 2 of his eels. He doesn't have an electric in play. That means he's got no energy acceleration. And assuming I keep this hand, next turn Scizor Prime is coming down, and that's going to shut off Mewtwo. So here he goes for the catcher, catches in my injured Yanmega, attaches an energy, so he's at 60. He needs to do 70 in order to take a prize, but he has that Juniper, so I'm assuming he's counting on a plus power here. Plus power is back to being a staple card in pretty much any deck, just because it really helps with the Mewtwo wars. Unfortunately, he whiffs the plus power. Yanmega survives to attack another day, possibly, maybe. But as you can see, when I end, I did not get a supporter, so that is problematic. It means I have no way to attack this turn, no way to really do anything, because I missed that energy drop the turn before. Scizor is not ready to go. I obviously am not going to put down a naked Terrakion, so the only play I have here, just go into Scizor Prime and force him to retreat if he wants to do anything. Mewtwo can't touch me because he's got that DCE on him, so if he wants to do anything this turn, he's going to have to retreat that Mewtwo, and hopefully that'll just buy me a turn to get back in the game, or at least even hand sizes. As I said, I run ton of cards that help me do that. I have 8 that directly match hand sizes, and then quite a few N as well. So there's a pretty good chance of hitting one. It's just when I cannot chain into them and when I can't get a Pokegear, I can kind of get stuck like I am now. So that is going to be a major problem in these next few turns. I just lose all of the momentum I had going. You see right there, because I missed the attack last turn, he gets to evolve his Dynamo into electric. That means he does have energy acceleration now. And forcing him to pay this DCE to retreat is not going to be nearly as big a blow as it was last time. So he just retreats into Tyrogue, catches out the injured Yanmega, and finishes off with a mischievous punch for 30. Even though Yanmega resist fighting, Dynamo's attacks are not affected by weakness or resistance. So it does a straight up 30. And I'm in some trouble. Again, I have no way to match his hand size, didn't hit a supporter. Kind of stuck. I can at least attack with Scissor if I want to. I think about dropping the Terrakion here, but there's no way to charge that up. I don't have a catcher. I don't really have a play here. I mean, the only thing I can do is just attach to Scissor and retreat and take a prize on Tyrogue, which isn't a huge deal. I definitely would have rather hit something else, especially that electric, but it will put me at 2 prizes, and there we go. I get the judge off of the prizes, so I've got a way to match hand sizes next turn, and hopefully I'll be able to do something about it. But those couple of rough turns really caused me some problems now. He can go into his Thundurus here, and just what he's going to do is just start stacking energies onto Mewtwo and try to just overwhelm me with a Mewtwo EX, punch through that resistance and the metal energies. That's another great thing about Scissor. It takes Mewtwo about a bajillion energies to kill it, somewhere in the ballpark, because of the resistance and then the metal energies and all that. So he's got 4 on him, I believe, and I have 2, so that's 6, and that puts me at 120. Then the plus power is 130, but minus 20 is 110, and then minus 20 more from my resistance is 90. So he once again misses the KO by a single plus power, which had to be absolutely devastating for him. That's the second time he's missed it. The first was on that Yanmega, but sucks to be him. Anyhow, I've got a good hand now. Finally, I'm out of my drought. I'm going to drop that Terrakion, attach the fighting energy to it, and a card that I would really like to play in this deck would be Experience Share, just to help Terrakion not be such a fat catcher target. I'd like 1 or 2, but I think I'm okay without it just because Yanmega doesn't take energy to attack, so it would really only be in there for Scissor, and I only have Scissor in if he's untouchable. So it was something I thought about. It doesn't work on TCGO anyhow, so that kind of made my decision for me. But set up here, I've got some options. I can choose to attack with Scissor. I can attack with Yanmega. Can't attack with Terrakion yet, but I think for a long time about what I want to do. I could catcher out the Eel and hope to stall him for a few turns while I hit Mewtwo. Mewtwo's got 90 damage on it, so I need to do 80 more. That's 2 linear attacks. I could go for the catcher on electric and hope to linear attack twice, but the problem is I can't play the catcher and attack with Yanmega. Can only do one or the other, so I could also go into Scissor and hit the active Thundurus, but that's probably the worst option. Terrakion's going to be able to KO Thundurus next turn regardless if it does take the prize on Yanmega, and Scissor is not going to be able to KO it, so please don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Right. I just told you how stupid it was. Right. Go back. So what I'm going to do here is actually just linear attack Mewtwo. All I need to do to win the game is hit that Mewtwo. So the linear attack means that I will be able to KO it with pretty much anything next turn. yeah, he can Catcher in Terrakion, but he won't be able to kill it this turn. He could kill it with Mewtwo, but then that means Scissor just comes in and kills it, so he can't do that. He can hit me with a Disaster Bolt for 80, but that's not going to kill me, and it's going to allow me to get an attack in, and I still have 3 prizes to give up. Since I don't play any EXs in this deck, it's not going to help him out. Really, to take 1 more prize, I've got 2 to give away, and all I need is to be able to match hand sizes once and hit him with a linear attack. So here he flips Dual Tails on the first dual ball, but then he gets 2 heads on the second, so that kind of works out. And he gets a Cleffa and a Zekrom. Really no idea what his thought process was here. I guess it was to try and attack with Zekrom, but he doesn't play any of them down, so I think he was just playing his hand size down, but then he should have benched them. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing. But he uses Disaster Bolt, hits me for 80. That's fine. I'm going to go for the Catcher here. Catcher out the Mewtwo. Pecom to get my other Scissor in play, just because I don't want to draw into that Yanma. Or I want to... the Yanma will be in there. I don't want to get the card out of my deck for this Judge, because what I'm really looking for is a Switch or a Junk Arm. If I get either of those, I win the game. So I'm just trying to thin my deck out as much as possible before I play that Supporter. And there we go. Second card I pull is a Junk Arm. That's all it's going to take. I can toss the Pokegear and the Fighting Energy, grab my Switch, switch into Scissor, and polish off this Mewtwo to take my last 2 prizes. So as soon as I play the Switch, he's just going to concede. But that is the game. That's the deck that I thought of myself. I'm not going to lie, kind of proud for coming up with this. Seems like a pretty solid deck. Obviously, it's a little bit slow just because things evolve. It's not all basics, but because it's stage 1s, it's manageable, and it's a pretty good metagame deck, I think. So let me know what you guys think of it in the comments. As always, give me a thumbs up if you liked the video, and I will have more coming your way shortly. Thanks, guys.